Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about some Google and other apps for education that I have found to be really useful in my own classroom, and I think they'd be really helpful for you as well. The first app that I'm going to talk about is Flipgrid. Flipgrid has been very engaging to my students. It's very collaborative, and it really offers a lot of options for you in your classroom. So when you log in, it is free. You can create Flipgrids and Flipgrid shorts. And what you can do is you can assign them to your students, and your students, as long as they have the same access code, can all add to the same Flipgrid. So it's almost like to them an Instagram Live or a Facebook Live discussion. So this adds a lot of engagement because some students do much better when they're able to explain their understanding in words, rather in verbal speech, rather than writing it down. So for those kids, this adds a really good differentiation piece to your lesson plan, and it also adds a very engaging portion to your lesson. I usually like to do this in one of my options where I give them to create a presentation. Some students do not want to stand up in front of a class, but with their friends, they'll create a short video, post it, and we can all watch it. Another tool that I like to use is Twitter in the classroom. I'm not going to actually access it right now, but TechPD has a really good example of how you can use this. And for your higher order thinking, your critical thinking skills, Twitter can be really good because it gives you that character limit. Students have to create a concise thought before they can post it. So the first thing that I like to do, I like to just have random discussions in my classroom using Twitter hashtags. And for that reason, I use something called Twajector. Twajector, and there's nothing here now, turns your Twitter hashtags into a Blackboard. So if you were in your class in real time and your hashtag was first period physical science Tison, I could have everybody post a response and it would come right here. There wouldn't be any distractions. There wouldn't be any outside tweets filtering in that give you privacy issues. Some other ways you can use Twitter, down when you get to analyze, apply, understand, remember. When we come to the analyze, they can compare and contrast Twitter to other forms of social media. You can analyze the tone in different tweets. If you were in an English class, you could examine bias in different tweets, and you could also show connections between trending tweets in your content area. So you could have students, like for instance, we're doing electricity and magnetism. I could have them find tweets about electricity and magnetism using hashtags, and they could create a web or a thinking map using those. Now, these all kind of tie in together because sometimes these thinking maps I will assign on my third tool, Google Classroom. This app has been a saving grace to my classroom. So Google Classroom allows you to create all of your content. This is just what we've done since the beginning of January. I put all of their assignments on here, and students can work on them if they're here, if they're at home, if they don't finish something in class. So like for example, one of them I put on here is environmental science in the news. Every Friday we do an environmental science news article. And what they'll do is I've got an instructions page where I've listed the link that I want them to find this from. This keeps students in one area. It prevents that internet safety piece. This keeps them in one area. And then I have a current event that I've created here where I give them a diagram of how I want it. And all they have to do, if you look at this piece, it gives them what I want, and they can easily see how they're supposed to create their document. Another thing that you can do here is create groups. So all you have to do is you go to classwork, and when you go to classwork, what it'll allow you to do is create a group by creating an assignment or a post. If you want to assign things to certain groups, all you have to do is put for, and I know it's my environmental science, I can click certain students. I can assign groups right here in Google Classroom, and they can all add to the same document, they can all add the same content, and they can create a project all their own, and only they can see this work, as well as myself. Now, the Google Docs is my last app that I wanted to show you. Google Docs has so many features that can be used in your classroom for good. And it also ties in really nicely with Google Classroom if you use that. So Google Docs, here's the same example I gave you earlier. It's a current event. My students are very low in writing usually. So what I like to do is I like to say, okay, your topic, I want 1 point. They can go through this Google Doc. I make a copy for each student. It allows you that freedom. They can delete this part, they can add in their stuff, and then eventually they have a well-written paper. The best thing about this, though, is the students can share with each other. They can share their document, and then it allows them to work on the same document. So if this were a project that I was assigning to multiple students, at home or at school, they can be sitting in a classroom without being loud. They could share it with each other, or I could have assigned them all viewing privileges, and they can use this comment feature. They can all type back and forth and give advice without editing the document, or they could just come in here and edit the same document. They're all working on the same document. You don't have that problem of students working with one document and then finding the other person did that part already and then wasting time. So it is a very concise tool. It works. You can download it into any type of document once you're done. We have students add these to their portfolios when they do projects, but Google Docs is essential to any classroom function, in my opinion, if you have technology to use. So Google Docs can work in well with Google Classroom. Google Classroom assignments, topics, questions. You don't have to create assignments. You can also create just questions where you ask a question to the class and they can answer in any way. You could assign them something to go back to Twitter and they could hashtag their responses, and then you could pull up the hashtag on the board with Twojector and it would bring up all of their tweets and their answers. Or if you had some people who would rather make a video, they could come right here to Flipgrid, create their own video with their Chromebooks or their phones at home or at school and add to the class discussion. This is just a great way to create collaboration in your classroom. And I hope you enjoy these tools and use them out in your own classrooms. And if you do, please give me a comment in the blog.